The HOA president thought she could barge into my home with her little clipboard army. She didn't know I work in federal security. Hit that like button if you think Power Trip should come with a warning label, and drop a comment if you've ever had to deal with an HOA nightmare yourself. They say peaceful suburbs, like it's a promise. But I've learned the hard way. It's more of a threat. I moved into this neighborhood a year ago. Quiet cul-de-sac, decent schools, and just far enough from the city to not hear sirens every night. I wasn't looking for friends, just space. After 10 years working in federal counter-surveillance, I value privacy more than oxygen. My job? Let's just say I'm the guy who makes sure the bad guys never even realize they've been watched. Covert tech operations, classified protocols, no flashy badges or uniforms, just a clipboard and a calm demeanor. The irony of what happened next. Oh, it still makes me grin. Anyway, the first few months were smooth. I kept my lawn trimmed, my cameras discreet, and my presence minimal. But somehow, minimal wasn't good enough for Karen. Her name's actually Marcia, but if you saw her hover around driveways, measuring grass height with a tape measure like she's running an Olympic event, you'd call her Karen too. She's the HOA president, self-appointed, self-important, and somehow convinced that she's protecting the American dream by harassing anyone who doesn't use beige paint. She knocked on my door the first week I moved in, clipboard in one hand, phone camera already recording in the other. No hello, just, we need to talk about your mailbox. It's 3 inches too tall. I blinked, then closed the door. Thought that was the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. Over the next few months, I became target number 1. Anonymous letters in my mailbox citing fake violations. Fines for unauthorized curtain colors. Once, she had the nerve to write me up for having a suspicious vehicle in my driveway. That vehicle, my government-issued blacked-out SUV. No plates, no questions. I let it slide, at first. Then came the HOA patrol. Yeah, she actually recruited 2 of the neighborhood's most bored, balding men to be her enforcers. Think golf dads with too much time and a thirst for authority. They'd stroll by, hands behind their backs like mall cops, whispering into walkie-talkies and pretending they were casing a drug ring instead of a guy who works late and doesn't wave at block parties. It was pathetic, but also annoying, so I started logging. Dates, times, photos. I set up motion-triggered cams with facial recognition just for them. Because that's what I do. I track threats. And Marcia and her clipboard cult were getting close to crossing a line. I didn't expect them to cross it the way they did, though. It happened on a Tuesday. I'd taken the day off, scheduled a video call with my department's director for a
clearance review. One of those dry background check refreshers. Nothing sensitive, but still, the kind of thing that didn't need interruptions. I'm mid-call, wearing a plain t-shirt and joggers when I hear it. My front door creaking open. No knock, no doorbell. Just the sound of boots, or rather Dad's sneakers, on hardwood. At first, I thought I was hearing things. Then I saw the door on my home security feed open, 2 figures stepping inside. Marcia and one of her HOA cops. No warrant, no permission, just storming into my house like I owed them rent. I muted the call, took a breath, and stood up. They had no idea who I was, no idea what kind of storm they just invited into their lives. And oh, it ended badly for them. I moved quietly, not out of fear, out of habit. Training kicks in like muscle memory. Your breathing slows, your footsteps vanish, and you take in every detail. They were in my foyer now, Marcia leading like she was on a mission from God. Clipboard clutched to her chest like it gave her legal authority. Behind her, Dave, her top HOA enforcer, former HVAC technician and self-declared lawman. He wore a red polo tucked into khakis, hands on his hips like he was expecting to find a meth lab. Marcia called out, loud and nasal. "Hello, Mr. Johnson? This is a compliance inspection. You were notified. Check your email." No, I wasn't. Because she never sent one. But even if she had, no inspection authorizes a forced entry. Especially not from 2 HOA volunteers who think breaking and entering is just a strong suggestion. I stood just out of view in the hallway, watching them scan my living room. They didn't see the camera above the doorframe or the one behind the bookshelf. or the silent alarm I'd triggered from my phone. Marcia scribbled something on her clipboard. "You see that curtain?" she said, pointing with her pen. "It's red. That violates the color palette. Has to be ivory, cream, or taupe. I sent the memo last March." Dave nodded like he was testifying in court. "And that plant? Looks like it's touching the window. Could be an obstruction. Fire hazard." These people were evaluating my houseplants, in my home, without so much as a knock. I waited. Let them sink deeper into their delusion. That was the thing with people like Marcia. They confuse silence for weakness, restraint for obedience. Then I stepped out. "Interesting technique," I said calmly. "Most burglars go for the back door." They both spun like kids, caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Dave immediately reached for his belt, where, hilariously, he had a utility pouch, no weapon, just a flashlight and what looked like a multi-tool. Marcia blanched. "We're here under HOA authority. You were notified." I raised a hand. "No, Marcia, you weren't notified of this." I walked toward them, not fast, just steady, watching them realize that the quiet guy with the off-brand SUV and drawn curtains wasn't just some loner. I showed no badge. I didn't have to. I never do. "My name isn't Johnson," I said. "That's a tenant alias, for operational security." Marcia blinked. "Operational? I work in federal counter-surveillance. Your little field trip? That's now a Class C breach of federal protocol and a felony." Dave looked like he'd swallowed a battery. I didn't yell, didn't threaten, just walked past them to the front door and closed it softly behind me. Then I locked it. Marcia's face twisted. "You're locking us in? That's illegal." "Oh, we crossed that line a while ago." I gestured toward the bookshelf. A soft click and a panel opened, revealing a small wall-mounted screen with 4 live security feeds. One was already showing the blinking lights of a responding cruiser pulling up a block away. I'd pressed the silent distress code 10 minutes earlier. The house was now in secure lockdown. "Police are on the way," I said, "but not just them. This is about to escalate." Marcia's mouth flapped like a fish on land. I stepped closer to her. "You entered a private residence under false authority, tampered with personal property, possibly exposed sensitive equipment tied to national security." I let that hang for a second. "You're going to want a lawyer." She finally broke. "I didn't know," she snapped. "I thought you looked like a civilian. You never responded to notices. You're the only one who doesn't attend the meetings." "Exactly. That was the point." "You ever wonder why?" I said. "Why I don't mow the lawn during the day? Why I never tell anyone what I do? Why I keep to myself?" I turned to Dave, who had gone ghost white. "You're not her enforcer anymore, buddy. You're an accessory." Sirens chirped outside. I smiled. Time to meet the real authority. The flashing red and blue lit up the inside of my house like a Christmas rave. 2 local patrol units pulled up. Not feds. Yet. Just the city cops, the kind who get bored writing parking tickets and jump at the chance to deal with an actual situation. From my hallway monitor, I saw one officer approaching the door while his partner circled to the back. Standard protocol for a potential break-in. Marcia tried to bolt. She lunged for the door like that was going to undo what she'd just done. I let her pull it open herself. Better that the officer see her frantic face first. He stepped back instinctively. Hand hovered near his holster. "Ma'am, I need you to stay inside." "I live here," she lied. I didn't even react. I just stepped into view, calm as ever. "No, officer, she doesn't. I do. She broke in." The cop looked at me, looked at Marcia, then at Dave, who was now nervously staring at his New Balances like they'd reveal a portal out of this mess. Marcia sputtered. "He's lying. He's not even on the deed. I checked. His name isn't Johnson." The officer gave her the kind of slow blink reserved for total nonsense. "Sir," he asked me, "can you confirm your identity?" I nodded, stepped back and held out my phone. "Swipe up. Code is 9804. You'll see a scanned credential. Scroll to the bottom. There's a contact line for federal clearance confirmation. He hesitated, then did it. 30 seconds later, his posture changed. Completely. He straightened up, gave me a small nod. Understood. Thank you, sir. I'll notify dispatch. Marcia's eyes went wide. Wait, what? What are you? I turned to her slowly. I'm the reason you never see certain things on the news, Marcia. The reason your little HOA patrol gets to play pretend while people like me keep this country stitched together in silence. For once, she had no comeback. Inside, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not anger. Just the cold clarity of someone who spent his entire adult life knowing the cost of carelessness, and now watching someone else learn it the hard way. The second officer came in, joined his partner, and within minutes the report was clear. Unlawful entry, impersonation of authority, and suspected tampering with secure assets. Dave cracked first. I didn't know, he moaned. She said it was an inspection. I thought it was legal. The officer gave him a curt nod. You can explain that to the detectives. Marcia was seething. That kind of silent rage only bureaucrats and control freaks get when the rules they weaponize are suddenly turned against them. But the real twist was yet to come. Because just as they were being read their rights, my phone buzzed. It was a secured message from my agency. Notice, breach registered. Contact protocol initiated. Debrief at... Because that meant one thing. This wasn't just an HOA incident anymore. They were now in the federal system. And once that machine starts rolling, there's no oops big enough to stop it. I turned to the officers. I'll need copies of the body cam footage, and I'll be filing a separate report through my chain. They nodded. Marcia finally snapped. You can't do this to me. I was just doing my job. No, I said. You were playing God, and now you're going to see what judgment actually looks like. By the time Marcia and Dave were escorted out of my home, the entire cul-de-sac was watching. Curtains twitched, phones recorded. HOA loyalists peeked from behind hedges like squirrels sensing a thunderstorm. It was poetic in a way. Marcia, the self-declared guardian of suburban order, now being shoved into the back seat of a cruiser with a look on her face like she'd just found out the world isn't flat. But this wasn't just about humiliation. This was about escalation, because what they'd done wasn't just rude or invasive or over the line. It was a breach of protocol, of privacy, of federal-level containment procedures. See, what Marcia didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that tucked away behind a false wall in my basement was a classified surveillance prototype, one I wasn't even allowed to power on without permission. She had walked within 10 feet of it. Had she touched it, interacted, filmed? I wasn't taking any chances. I filed a Level 3 breach report that evening. My agency responded like it always does, cold, clean, and ruthlessly thorough. The next morning, 2 black Suburbans arrived. Not unmarked, not aggressive, just official enough to make sure the neighborhood really took notice this time. My neighbors stepped back. No more snooping now, just fear. The kind that makes soccer moms whisper, "He's CIA or something, right?" while clutching their reusable shopping bags. I let the agents in, walked them through the house, showed them the breach zone, provided camera footage, digital timestamps, logs, everything. I don't hide my tracks. I document the damn forest. They confirmed no tampering, but even so, the proximity alone required immediate response, temporary equipment lockdown, full sweep. They even took Marcia's clipboard for evidence. That one made me laugh harder than I expected. But it wasn't until later that week that the real hammer dropped. See, I have friends in the background systems, people who scan chatter, cross-check names, track anomalies. One of them pinged me with a little gift. Marcia had a history. A very interesting history. Turns out this wasn't her first time abusing power. 2 years ago, she'd been booted from a different HOA across the state for exactly the same behavior. Only that time, she'd forged documents, faked violations, and even installed an unauthorized camera facing a neighbor's window. But because it was all civil stuff, no one pushed it legally. This time, oh, it was different. With my report, my clearance, and the breach of proximity to federal equipment, the case didn't go to small claims court. It went to federal review. She was hit with 3 charges. First of all, criminal trespassing on a federal contractor's secure residence. Secondly, interference with sensitive government operations. Thirdly, false impersonation of authority during unauthorized entry. Dave was lucky. They let him off with
community service and mandatory compliance training. He broke early, cooperated, and even wrote an apology letter, type-signed and everything. Marcia? She lawyered up, screamed about injustice, tried to sue me for emotional trauma. Didn't work. The agency's response? We don't negotiate with clipboard tyrants. Her lawsuit was laughed out of court. The judge didn't even let it go to hearing, called it delusional at best. By the end of the month, Marcia had resigned from the HOA due to personal matters. The board was dissolved, and a city-appointed mediator temporarily took over neighborhood oversight. No more patrols, no more memos, no more suburban Gestapo. Just silence. Peaceful, glorious silence. And as for me, I stayed. Didn't move, didn't sell. I wanted them to know I was still here, quiet, watching, and that next time they thought about crossing a line, they'd remember what happened the last time someone tried. It's been 6 months. The street's quiet now, not just in sound, but in spirit. No more HOA flyers under my door. No more patrols pacing up and down the sidewalk pretending they're keeping order in a war zone. No more passive-aggressive notes about holiday decorations not approved by the board. Just normal people trying to live normal lives, like it was always supposed to be. But the shadow of what happened still lingers. People nod at me differently now, not out of friendliness, out of awareness. Kids don't ride their bikes too close to my driveway. Neighbors don't ask about my job. No more bake sale invites, no more neighborhood watch gossip. I became a ghost with a reputation. The man who crushed the HOA president without raising his voice. And honestly, I didn't plan it that way. I didn't need revenge. I just needed order. The kind of order that doesn't require clipboards and busybodies pretending they're judges in a suburban courtroom. Marcia's life? Wrecked. After the court case was dismissed, word got out. Fast. Turns out her entire persona was built on the illusion of control. Once that was gone, she spiraled. Tried to join another HOA in a different town. Denied. Tried to organize a homeowner rights group. Ignored. Eventually, she sold her house, quietly, below market value. The listing said, motivated seller. That made me laugh out loud. Dave? He actually came by one day, knocked on my door with a 6-pack and a sheepish smile, wanted to apologize in person. I let him. He was nervous, kept looking over his shoulder like some agent in a suit might step out and cuff him mid-sentence. I didn't know, he said. I really didn't. I just thought we were, protecting the neighborhood. I took the beer, cracked one open. You were playing soldier in a sandbox, I said. Next time, ask before breaching someone's home. He nodded and left. I didn't hate the guy, just hated the game he let himself be dragged into. And what about me? Well, after the breach, my agency reassigned me. Higher clearance, fewer field visits. They didn't punish me. If anything, they respected the fact that I handled the situation without needing a formal sting. Said it showed restraint and strategic clarity. Yeah, I've been called worse. I spend my time on classified asset evaluations now. Less cloak and dagger, more protocol enforcement. Still in the field sometimes, but not as often. Honestly, I don't miss the late-night tailing or bug sweeps in moldy basements. And my house? Upgraded. Every room is now secured. Thermal, audio, biometrics. Not because I'm paranoid, because I'm realistic. I know the type of people who think a clipboard makes them God. I've met their kind and dismantled their delusions. Marcia thought she was the law, thought she could step over boundaries without consequences. But power without accountability is just ego. With a megaphone. She learned that the hard way.
And the neighborhood?
They learned too. That behind every quiet neighbor, every drawn curtain, every guy who minds his business,
there might be someone who's seen things they'll never understand. And if you knock on that door uninvited, you better pray they don't answer,